Hi, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Dead. I am your host, 𝕬𝕬𝕤𝕚, and we are already up to episode 7, believe it or not. It's been great, almost 2 months back, and things are going really, really good. We have a bunch of new merch up in the Teespring store, and there are, as you can see, lovely new bright lights going on and all kinds of fun stuff, right? So be sure you check out the Teespring store. That link is always in comments, or not comments, rather. It's always in the show notes afterwards. It's just teespring.com/store/CWTD, whatever. Most importantly, this week I'm looking for new interviews, trying to book up into August now. So if you'd like to come on and do your spooky thing, let me know. You can email me, 𝕬𝕬𝕤@cwtd.co. Let's see, anything else of interest? No, I can't really think of anything besides I woke up way too late today, so I don't have anything planned. We have Patrick Bishop from the Spook Group down out of Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, Virginia area, and he is going to come on here in a few days. Oh wow, look at me, I'm all over the place. This is what happens when you wake up 3 hours before you're supposed to do a show. But he's going to come on in a few minutes and talk about his experiences. So he started up the Spook Group, and he has some EVPs and fun stuff to share with us. So we got a few people in chat already. So Lady Liz, as always, hi, welcome. I also want to thank my Patreons. I have Lisa Rambo, Chris Geyser, and Haven Van Heusen. You guys are the 3 lucky ones to have joined and gotten special access to the Point Lookout Walkabout virtual tour video and hunting for EVPs amongst that video for me. They're on the Shadow tier, which is the $5 tier. So, if you want to experience some of the benefits of being a Patreon, but you don't really want to commit to doing the monthly payout, just do it once. Sign up for Spectre or Apparition, whatever tier you want, and then, it's okay. Every little bit helps, but you don't have to feel like you're locked into a full year. You can just, do it for as long or as little as you'd like. Let's see, we still have a lot of great ties going on. We're making a lot of good, doing a lot of good networking, so to speak, with Lisa Rambo, for example. She is really becoming a great friend and helping Coffee with the Dead out quite a bit. She's an amazing channeler and has a really strong connection to spirit. So I've actually been able to team up with her, so to speak. So I do some spiritual counseling also as well. So if you have any questions or concerns regarding your own spiritual practices or weird things that you think are happening to you, that you're experiencing, and you come to me to talk about them, now I have Lisa. I have someone else to bounce things off of with. So it's cool. It's great. Wonderful. And if you're listening, hi, Lisa. All right. So we're going to go ahead and bring Patrick in. Hey, Patrick.
Hi, 𝕬𝕬𝕤𝕚. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Thank you for having me this evening.
Of course. So, tell us a little background about yourself. I gave you a little intro there, but, can you elaborate?
Okay. Well, you mentioned the Spook Group. The Spook Group is not really a paranormal team. What it is, and what I'm trying to position it as, is sort of an institute for research into paranormal studies. Our motto is scientifically surveying the supposedly supernatural. And that really sort of encapsulates my approach to the paranormal. I don't object to people who say that they are psychic, who are mediums, and who can bring something of value to an investigation. But for me, since I'm a flat line when it comes to such things, I have no paranormal sensitivities at all. I prefer to use tools like magnetometers and digital audio recorders and cameras, and limit the data that I actually analyze to those kinds of things. Um, I began to get an interest in the paranormal
I love
from
hearing
the
your
same.
clock in the background. Is that an actual like cuckoo clock or what is that? A grandfather clock?
It's not a cuckoo clock. It is an antique, actual mechanical clock
Oh wow.
that
That's cool.
that my grandparents bought sometime before I was born.
Oh, so that means
Don't know.
it is coffee with the dead time, huh?
Well, the thing is, there's a story behind that clock. Now, after my grandmother died about 15 years ago, the clock just stopped working. It's a mechanical clock. It has to be wound. It has a pendulum, but it stopped working. If you tapped the pendulum and got it swinging back and forth, it would run for a minute and then it would stop.
Hmm.
Winding made no difference. A couple of weeks ago, my daughter came over. She is going to be 7 years old in August. And she is always interested in this clock. She likes to see the pendulum swing, so I will let it swing for a couple of minutes. I will push it, and it will swing for a couple of minutes, and of course it stops. But the last time she was here, I had given her a music lesson, and she wanted to see this clock tick, and so I started it ticking, and it's been ticking ever since. And this was like 2 weeks ago,
And as
and
far as you know, it's broken, yeah?
I thought it had been. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it run since my late 30s. But it
Wow.
was a constant fixture in my life as a child. But in any event, it is working, and my daughter thinks that my mother's ghost fixed it for
Well,
her.
possibly. That would be my go-to. I mean, did you happen to start it back up on an anniversary or any special day?
If I did, I didn't. I don't know. It
Okay.
was. I could actually look up the actual date. I think I even posted about it onto Facebook. But as far as I know, it was not a significant anniversary. The house that I live in is the house that I inherited from her. She didn't pass away in the house. She passed away in the hospital, but this was her house. My father passed away in this house.
Oh.
Both of my mother's parents passed away in this house, and my grandmother's sister passed away in the house.
Well, it must have been family then, and they're just saying, "Hey, it's time for this clock to work." So,
For Kara, for my daughter, I would not be surprised. That would be in keeping with my mom especially.
mm,
I was going to tell you that when I started to get into the paranormal, it was as a debunker. I saw the same ghost hunting shows that everybody watched. This was about 2009, 2010, and I would see these investigators go into a place with a digital audio recorder
mm-hmm.
and EVPs, and I was like, "There's no way this can be that easy."
Right.
Because otherwise, everybody would be doing it, and nobody would have any questions. We would all know that ghosts are real.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think you
So
need to have a couple more sips out of that fancy mug you got going on there.
I tell you what, I have to say that much as I love coffee, it tastes so much better in my coffee with the dead mug. Look at this fabulous. I am the envy of everyone who sees me drink from this cup.
See, and it has both logos on there, so you get the best of both worlds.
And it's so affordable. Well, anyway, I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia, on the edge of Fredericksburg, Virginia, technically in Spotsylvania County. And if you know anything about the Civil War, you know that the place was absolutely destroyed twice during the American Civil War. So there's battlefields everywhere.
Yeah.
So I said, where am I most likely to run into a ghost? As a college professor, I had digital audio recorders that I would use to record my lectures for students who were absent. And so I had this equipment, and I took it to a battlefield.
Hmm.
And I'm walking through the woods in the battlefield, asking questions of the trees, like, what was your rank? When did you die? Did
Right.
you fight for the North or did you fight for the South?
Now, were you by yourself?
I'm sorry, I was totally by myself, and I felt like such an idiot.
Yeah.
And I prayed that no tourist would come along and see this crazy man walking in the woods asking questions of the trees.
Right.
I got home. I didn't have any fancy software, I just had headphones. I pressed play on the recorder, and I heard some of my questions get answered. It was a life-altering moment, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now, because I suddenly realized it's all real. All of this stuff is totally real.
Right.
Ghosts are real, and they are around us maybe all the time. And that sort of pulled the trigger about 2010 on my interest in really pursuing the paranormal, and I'm still doing it, creating hypotheses and trying to figure out ways to test them.
Awesome. So your group is more of into the philosophy of this could be real and let's find the science to prove that it's real kind of a group, more so than oh hey, we just hunt ghosts.
Right. I think of it, what we have is, like I said, I don't have an actual team. I'm not the boss of the team. There is no boss of the team. If I find an interesting case, say somebody that has an old farmhouse and the kids are getting scared because things are going bump in the night, then I will put a notice on the Spook Group Facebook page saying who would be available to accompany me to this place on this date. And so I have a pool. I have sort of a pool of investigators, and instead of a hierarchy, we just have a loose affiliation of investigators, and whoever shows up can show up. And some of them have the same approach that I do. Some of them are gifted mediums and psychics. Some of them use tools that I am completely incompetent with, like dowsing rods that cross when you ask the question and the answer is yes, they cross. I can't get them to work. They sit perfectly still in my hands when I hold them. But,
so you said in the beginning that you you're not a psychic or a medium or anything, but you don't discount those folks either, but you also like kind of heavily question that too. So how do you feel about the ones who carry those titles in your team, I guess?
Well, there is no easy answer to that question except for me to put it to you like this. I think that there are some people who are genuinely gifted, and they have the gift. They can tell you that over there, in that corner, there is a Civil War widow who is wringing her hands, looking out the window, waiting for her husband to come home from the war, still in 2020. And she'll be right about that widow standing over there.
But how will you know that she's right?
Hopefully, the lady standing in the corner wringing her hands will say something. And I will catch it on my recorder. And sometimes that kind of corroboration happens. And that's what makes me give the thumbs up to whoever it is that's saying those kinds of things.
Right.
But for every one of those people who is genuinely gifted, I think there's probably 100 people who think they have the gift. Really don't.
Yeah, unfortunately, that kind of field has become more of a business than an actual reliable source for going through the veil.
I know. As a source of data, if there is no corroboration with something happening, okay, you said that there's a ghost over there. Can you ask her to make a noise? Can you ask her to move something? If something moves or if I hear a knock, then I'm like, okay, we're good to go.
Right.
Um, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that there's not a ghost over there. But how am I supposed to know? I'm not interested in thrills and chills. I approach the field as a scientist. We talk about the paranormal, and we'll call this, paranormal investigation, paranormal research. But if you really think about it, when Isaac Newton was thinking about gravity, nobody knew what it was. He saw an apple fall from the tree, and he asked himself, why does it fall down instead of sideways or up?
Mm-hmm.
You could say that the study of gravity in Isaac Newton's time was paranormal research because it had not been clearly understood by science. So paranormal to me, I use the quotation marks, quotation fingers, paranormal to me means the science that we just have not figured out yet.
Right. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't ever really mean just ghosts or just, the dead still having a presence. I mean, if you look at the definition of para, it's the, unusual or strange, and then normal. So the unusual or strange, normal behavior. So you almost put those, see, when you put those together, it's like normal things that are weird. So weird things happening to a point where it's just normal for it to be weird. And then we want to go and, I say we because I kind of follow the same technique as you when I do my investigations. I'm not there to catch the ghost. I'm there to, gather some sort of evidence and then figure out what makes that happen. Even if it's just like vibrations from, like a motor or something nearby that happens to be recorded as what sounds like a man mumbling or someone actually talking, just because of like the rate that the recorder's going versus the rate of the motor, and whatever other kind of stuff that's kind of above my head, which is why I collaborate with other people. But that's the definition of paranormal. It's just things that normally happen that are really weird, and we don't have any other word for them.
Right. But sometime in the future, we probably will. If we if we ask the right questions and perform the right experiments, we'll get it all figured out. I want to understand things, not just because I'm going to be a ghost someday, although that is part of it.
Yeah.
I'm also interested. I mean, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we could figure out what the rules are? Why is it that ghosts are able to say things that we can hear with our naked ears on some days, but not all the time? What's special about that day? What are the conditions on that day when they can talk loudly enough for us to hear?
Exactly.
And what if we could control the environment and create those circumstances, tweak those variables so that the ghosts could have a conversation with us like any other live person?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to recreate every minute detail of the day down to like barometric pressure, like the humidity, weather, your mood. Even, you'd have to wait to do the experiment until you were in the same mood. And it's just, but if you could really recreate that moment exactly down to every detail, then yeah, you could really,
it would
hopefully,
change the world.
Yeah, it would change. Yeah. Some proof might start to come out, or at least some answers, right?
Yes.
So we have, a couple comments coming from the chat. Lady Liz says she likes your clock just by hearing it.
Better that you like my clock. Thank you.
Verdict Zero is saying your anecdote about the woman wringing her hands and whatnot, waiting for her soldier to come home and things, was an awesome anecdote leading into your discussion. And Marty Kingshot, he wants to know what do you both think of the apps that you can get for your tablet or phone to detect any paranormal activity?
Okay.
So you go first.
Okay. I feel strongly about apps. There are some apps that work like ghost boxes or voxes, where the ghost is somehow able to manipulate the sensors in the phone to generate a word. I don't have a great deal of confidence in those kinds of apps. I'm not saying that a ghost cannot manipulate the sensors in a phone to choose a word. I'm saying that if it's dependent upon the sensors in the phone, then all the other things that affect the sensors can generate a false positive.
What was that?
What was what?
You didn't hear that?
I heard nothing.
Did your
I heard
phone vibrate? Is your phone nearby?
I am staring into my phone.
Oh, is it on vibrate? I heard like a very loud, like 2 vibrations right now, like from a
I
phone.
didn't receive a notification. I did
Okay,
not receive a
it
notification. So
might have. I don't have any notifications either. So, did
hang
you
on.
guys in chat hear that?
I've got 93% battery, so it's not running out of juice.
Yeah, it was a phone. It sounded like a phone vibrating.
Okay, well, maybe it did.
I don't know. That just okay. Anyway, so continue. What do you think about these phone apps?
Okay, anyway, for future reference, if it happens again, I apologize. Not every single notification that I get appears on my screen. I've signed up for things like when the local roads are closed because of an accident, and it doesn't show up.
You'll have to double check for me after your interview and let me know if
Yeah.
around like 8:23 there was a notification. Because
8:23.
everyone in chat is saying that they heard it too, so I'm not just hallucinating for once.
Okay, fair enough. It could be my phone. All right, now the apps. I'm not interested in collecting false positives. I've installed and experimented with some of these apps that generate words, and some of them have things like a radar screen, and it shows you where the ghost pops up over here, and there's a different colored ghost that pops up over there.
Right.
And I haven't learned anything from any of those. But the apps that do work, every smartphone comes installed from the factory with magnetometers. These are instruments that are designed to detect magnetic fields. And the reason that they have them is so that even when your phone is in airplane mode, it still knows which way is north.
For your GPS and for like your location tracking for emergencies and stuff.
Got
Right.
it. If it knows what direction north is, and it's got accelerometers as well to tell which way the phone is moving and how fast, then it can tell you more or less where you are, even when your phone is in absolute airplane mode and cannot receive a signal from a GPS satellite. It will still have, because of this inertial sensor and the magnetometer, an idea of where you are within a few hundred feet. Now, there are apps that are designed to access the data generated by your magnetometers and display them as numbers or on a graph. And I have found those to be useful on paranormal investigation. What I've discovered, what I feel like I've discovered, is that right before a ghost does something, like move an object or make a noise, the magnetic field will climb. And it'll climb very high. And then all of a sudden it crashes back to normal, and then the thing happens, whatever it is that the ghost is going to do.
So you use those apps more so as like a EMF detector, but you can actually see it. You're looking at it as a numerical value rather than just the red. It goes into the green, yellow, red light spectrum,
Right.
which displays on most EMF meters.
Well, like a K2 meter.
Or a
It has
K2
light-
meter, yeah.
It has lights and it makes sounds, but number one, it doesn't record that data. You can't look at it later.
My
And
℧ does. My ℧ does record it as a numerical value, but the other two, you're right. Yeah, it's just lights to let you know something's there. But so you're saying those apps can be used for more of a specific range.
There are things that you can do. There are ways that you can interact with the dead using these apps. One of the apps that I use is called 𝕬𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕜. Gauss is the, like we measure distance in inches and feet and temperature in degrees. Gauss is one of the ways that we measure magnetic fields. And this one is called 𝕬𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕜. And one of the displays that it has is a compass needle. And you can download it. It's a free app. You can download it onto your, I know it's available for Android. I don't know about iPhone. You can download it onto your Android phone, and you can bring a kitchen magnet, the kind that sticks on your fridge, close to this, and you can see the needle move. It will change direction. Now, I have at times, on investigations, set this phone on the floor with that Gauss meter compass being displayed, And I have watched that needle move when it shouldn't have. North is always north. The only reason it's not going to show as north is if something is disturbing the magnetic field, as if a ghost was walking right by the phone. The other thing you can do is you can set it to a graphical display. So it shows a chart, right? Like a EKG of your heart beating. And it shows the ups and downs of the magnetic field. And I have asked questions to the dead and instructed them, if the answer is yes, touch my phone. And when the answer was yes, I'll see that flat line make a bump. Not every time, maybe one time in 20, they will this way. But you know what? That's a powerful tool. If the data that you're getting from this is accurate, you can ask them, were you born before 1900? Were you born after 1900?
It's almost like even if you don't get EVPs, or sometimes what I like to do are the live EVP recordings. So I'll actually, I have one of the stereo digital recorders that you can plug headphones into and listen to. You can monitor your
Right.
recordings as you're recording. And with that, sometimes I've been able to actually hear live responses to questions during investigations. But with the Gauss meter, it's like even if you're not getting an EVP, there's another type of confirmation you can get by watching the graph.
Yes.
So can you
Yeah.
output that graph into like a file and actually like
Gauss meter
use it?
doesn't let you do that.
Okay.
Gauss meter is easy to use, and it's got a nice big display. There is another one, and I can provide a link after to the Google Play Store that offers it. It is also free, and it's more complicated to use. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it monitors basically every sensor on your phone. And if you've got a thermometer in your phone, it'll tell you what the temperature is. If
Right.
you've got my last phone had a barometer in it. This one does not. And it could tell me when I was going up and down hills in the car. And because of the change in air pressure, if you get on the elevator in the Empire State Building, it would show you that you're ascending just
Right.
because of the change in air. It's monitoring all these different sensors that are installed on your phone. That one takes a little experience to set up and to pick the right sensor, but it does make a recording.
So
You can.
to so basically, Marty, like what we're saying is those apps, they're not going to necessarily be your most reliable investigation tools using them as they're presented. But if you look into the data that they provide and kind of manipulating their capabilities, they can actually provide some correlation during investigations. But most of them, they're simply labeled like just for entertainment. And if you happen to actually be able to, validate an experience with them, then that's just cool. That's cool, but it's probably nothing you should rely on.
Let me put it to you like this. Let's suppose that you're on an investigation and you've got an app running on your phone, and it's one of those apps that generates words. Ask the dead to tell you how many fingers you're holding up.
Right.
And if it comes back and says 2, then you know what? You might be onto something. If you're holding up two fingers and you ask it, how many fingers am I holding up? And it says
Apple.
L5.
Yeah.
Right. Because the ghost is supposed to be able to manipulate the sensors to pick a word from a scrolling list of words. You can't see the scrolling list. That's all in the software. It's embedded. But the ghost sees the scrolling list and he says, okay, I want to say 2. And so he tweaks the magnetometer or the barometer or whatever it is, and then the app says 2.
Right.
Now, there's nothing that says that a ghost can't do that.
See, I also think though that like our other tools during investigation can either be interfered with by our phones, or our phones can be interfered with by our other tools, like our EMF meters, or even if you use like EMF pump, or I don't probably not your digital tape recorders or anything, but the ones that actually output a frequency to,
Hmm.
yeah,
Well,
those.
I can illustrate what you're saying with an experiment that I did, in which I was on an investigation with 5 other investigators, and every single one of them had a K2 meter. I was the only one who didn't have a K2 meter. So just as an experiment, they had their K2 meters sitting on a stairwell, on the steps going upstairs. And I took my phone out of airplane mode and I started sending texts to random friends. And every time I hit send,
It
within
flashes,
about
doesn't
half
it?
a second, they would light up. So
Yeah.
those things are sensitive to all kinds of interference.
They're
Uh,
even sensitive enough to pick up lightning going on outside. I've had mine where it would go from no lights to all 6 lights lit up and then back down
oh yeah,
with each lightning strike.
with a volt of lightning, you're talking about millions of volts and 50,000 amps. It's going to generate a magnetic field.
Exactly. But
It's
see, then I
transient.
didn't know,
We're
you
like
know,
that,
if
but it'll blow
that
up
level of
your.
sensitivity, if that's, so much interference that it's almost not reliable because it's going to pick up everything. And how are you going to weed out what's what, when you just
Well,
have
I'm
lights to
not.
look at?
I'm not saying that a K2 meter is useless on an investigation. If I had unlimited resources, I could use K2 meters. I would like to say there's a hallway in this haunted place. I would get 20 K2 meters, and I would put one every couple of feet on the floor of that hallway. And then I would set up a camera on a tripod to just record. Now, if a ghost is generating a magnetic field and it walks down the hallway,
Right.
all 22 meters are not going to go off simultaneously like they would with a bolt of lightning
It
or
should be
somebody
like a
sent.
domino effect.
Right, you're going to see them light up in sequence from one end of the hallway to the other. So there is an appropriate way to use that kind of technology.
Okay.
And I mean, think about it like this. Did you see what was the name of that show? Oh, Winona Ryder. Um,
Stranger Things?
yes.
Yeah.
Remember the thing on the wall with the Christmas lights
When
and
she
and the
made the Ouija
alphabet?
board on the living room wall with the Christmas lights.
Right.
Yeah.
What if you had what if you had 26 K2 meters,
You
one for
could.
each letter of the alphabet, and a
Okay.
ghost could come up there and basically type out a message.
Okay, so when you're talking about proximity, like K2 might be good. But if you
Yeah.
just want to do like a sweep of the room and find out, what if there's any EMF energy in the room, maybe you want to use something like a millimeter or a gauss meter or something.
Yes, for that, I mean, you can detect things with a K2 meter, like when the air conditioning unit is malfunctioning and it's pumping out too much
Yeah,
magnetic field.
all of our
You
tools that we use, like all of these meters that we're talking about that pick up the EMF field, they're all just regular old electrician's tools. I mean, some of them have been tweaked a little, but mostly just marketed to the paranormal community. But they're all just taking ideas from pre-existing tools that are just for everyday use.
That's correct. They're not really designed to detect the kinds of things that we're looking for.
Right.
They're designed to detect magnetic fields, but some of the magnetic fields that we're looking for are subtle. And something that generates a false positive, if it's a standalone thing like a single K2 and it starts making noises and lighting up, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
Um,
So
but there,
Verdict Zero says Sensor Toolbox. I think it's another app. He says it'll record all of your device's sensor data and output it to a JSON file, which is on Android only.
okay, that does sound like the name of the thing that I'm trying to remember and couldn't. So thank you. That's a cool lot.
And hi,
Um,
Lisa. You just got in here. Hi, Lisa Rambo's here. And see, Verdict Zero also said to follow up with our talk about these tools being regular everyday uses and just marketed a lot. He says also price inflated, which is true.
yeah,
I mean, you could really just go to like Home Depot and get like a voltmeter or something. Well, no, not a voltmeter, but you could get an electrician's tool from Home Depot and basically do the same thing that you would do with a marketed EMF detector.
There's all kinds of experiments you could do with a voltmeter, depending on what you hooked it up to. But if you cracked open, I mean, think about it like this: if you cracked open a K2 meter, you would see like 3 parts, and those parts can be ordered online for pennies.
Yeah.
For pennies.
Yep.
And per unit. And you could assemble your own, essentially a K2 meter. It wouldn't look like a K2 meter, but it would do all the same things. It would light up, it would make noises, it would detect magnetic field
Yep.
for under $1 a piece. Now, how much is a K2 meter? About $50?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on, the brand, but yeah, about that. Yeah. Yep. So you sent me a couple of EVPs that you had captured during
And
investigations.
each one has a little bit of a backstory. So if you tell me the name of the file, I can tell you what happened that led up to it.
Totally. So the first one I'm going to play is called A Creepy Answer.
Mm. This was at Halloween. It was a Halloween investigation.
There's your clock again. Every half hour?
It at the bottom of the hour,
Mm-hmm.
at 30 minutes past, it rings once. And the thing is, I'm so scared to touch it that the time has been wrong since it started working again. Right now it says it is 6:30 p.m. So in 30 minutes it's going to ring 7 times.
Okay, excellent.
All right. What were we
Oh,
talking
hey,
about?
Rachel. Hi. We were getting ready to play A Creepy Answer.
Okay. This was on Halloween at the most haunted place I've ever been. Most of these recordings are recorded at the same place. I've been investigating there since about 2012. It is a house, a plantation manor house in ℚ𝕗𝕤𝕤 County that was enlarged several times, but the oldest part of the building was built in 1750, which means that when the Declaration of Independence was signed, this building was already 26 years old. All kinds of people were born there, all kinds of people died there. Affluent people, slaves, and so forth. It has undergone many transformations in its use over the years. In the early 1900s, during the era of Prohibition, it was a speakeasy and a brothel. And later on, it was just a flop house. But it has gone through many kinds of transformations. It was a very nice. Hotel. Before the interstates were built, it sits right on Route 1. And before the interstates were built, it's one of the places that people would stop routinely. And it was kept in beautiful condition back in those days. And so there's lots of people haunting it. And so most of the EVPs that you will hear tonight are recorded in that location.
Very good. So,
Oh, okay, so to finish setting it up,
yes.
it was Halloween. I was with 3 other people, live people, and I asked the following question. Basically, what would a ghost say to people who don't believe in ghosts? And I got a creepy answer. The answer, it seems to sound to me, what he sounds like he's saying is all of them will be dead.
So, let's see what you guys in chat hear.
You know, there are millions of people now, billions of people, and most of them don't even believe in ghosts. What would you like to say to the people who don't believe in you?
So, for those of you in chat, did you hear it?
I didn't hear it. I didn't even hear it play.
You didn't hear it play? Did you guys hear it play?
I heard you clicking the mouse.
It looked like it played. Try it again.
You know, there are millions of people now, billions of people, and most of them don't even believe in ghosts. What would you like to say to the people who don't believe in you?
So, yeah, everyone in chat saying that they did hear it, Patrick. So it's working.
I don't know
Um,
what kind of clip they're listening on. I've just got my phone here.
I think because you got the microphone on, it might not be
Oh,
some kind of something. So we
that
got,
must be.
let's see, everyone's saying, yeah, they heard all of them will be dead. And Verdict Zero said he heard all of the inaudible noise and then dead. So he only heard all of the dead. Um,
You don't have to hear what I hear.
nope, nope,
Some
nope. We got a
interpreting
couple.
EVPs, interpreting EVPs is fairly subjective. You
Yep.
don't always do the same thing.
And Lisa Rambo, Patrick, she was actually on the Full Buckman channeling episode.
Hmm.
And she's the one that I was talking about in the beginning of the episode. As you know, she's became a really, really good friend of mine, and she's a very talented channeler and things. Um, she is saying that. Let me just scroll up. She said the dead said that they love Patrick because he adores them, and also she said that they said that because once you die, you know the truth. It was what the dead told her in lieu of the question that you asked in this recording. So she's just getting a couple messages there. She's very in tune with many spirits, so she's getting a couple messages and passing them on to you.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, she says she works with the dead. Yep, and she's also saying they said there is so much suffering in the afterlife that it hurts them when people don't believe, and that they end up feeling negated.
I can appreciate that. I've I've picked up on that from some of the things that I've heard them say on my recording.
And Rachel is saying she wonders if it meant that all of those people will eventually soon be dead one day too.
I don't know about how long we have to wait, but I think if you're a skeptic about ghosts, it's fair enough to say that you lose your skepticism once you become one.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
Although, it was Halloween, and the dude put it in exactly the scariest possible way.
I
You know,
know. Yeah.
it's like he could have said, "Well, you'll lose your skepticism about ghosts when you become one," but he didn't say that, did he? He said all of them will be dead.
As morbidly as he could, right?
In that faraway, hollow voice.
The next one we're going to play is called Card Shuffle.
Oh, because it was a speakeasy and because it was a brothel, it's inevitable that there was gambling that went on in the place. So at some point, somebody asks, and this is on a tour. And at the end of the tours that I took people on there, I would give them 15 minutes to ask questions of the dead. And then we would listen to the recording in real time. We would go back and immediately listen to the recording that we just made. And somebody says something about, "Do you want to play games with us?" And you can distinctly hear somebody shuffle a pack of cards.
Mm.
And and we all heard it with our own ears. And somebody commented about that. A live person commented about
And here it is.
We like to play games too. If you come down and play with us, we'll play with you. I have cards. I have cards. I have cards. I have cards.
Yeah, I heard that, but could hear the cards shuffling, but it was like before that there was a voice. Someone speaking. I'm going to play that one more time.
We like to play games too. If you come down and play with us, we'll play with you.
Right there.
We like to play games too. If you come down and play with us, we'll play with you.
There. It sounded like it said something's right behind you. There is right behind you, or something along those lines. Did anyone else in chat pick that up? But I definitely heard the card shuffling.
Well, the reason I shared that audio with you is because I thought it was so interesting that the dead, although they can speak, and speak loudly enough for our instruments to record them, they can make other sounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is he really shuffling? He's not shuffling an actual physical pack of cards. But it's so interesting that they can make that sound without a physical pack of cards to shuffle.
Could it be he just has his deck, right? He has a deck. There it is actual to him it's physical cards maybe.
A
Right?
ghostly deck of cards, sure.
Yeah. The next one we have is in the hallway.
Okay, now, in the manor house that I've been talking to you about, that I've been telling you about, there is an upstairs and there's a long hallway and one room at the end of this hallway. And the only way you can get into the room is to go down the long hallway. And at some point, somebody put a padlock on that room, as if they were trying to keep somebody in.
So the
And,
lock was on the inside of the door? Or
no,
the
it was on the
outside?
outside of the door. The outside of the door. I mean,
Okay.
the mental picture I have is of an elderly person who is suffering dementia, and if they're not supervised, they'll walk out into the street and get hit by a car or whatever. And so, at some point in the past, somebody put a padlock to keep that person in the room. Now, there is a ghost that we have called the Grumpy Man, who occupies that room, and he fits the kind of the description. If you go in there with cameras and things, he will turn them off.
Now, did they go off or is it battery drain?
No, it's not battery drain. He simply turns them off.
Okay.
And you have to keep turning them back on. They'll be on for 5 seconds, and he'll turn them back off. This happened for a year or two. He's settled down. But anyway, I decided I was going to go back and make friends with this guy on one of our investigations. So what you listen to is me walking down the hallway and telling him that I'm coming. And then a female voice speaks. I was alone in the hallway. The other investigators in the building with me at the time were downstairs, probably 40 or 50 feet away from me. But listen to this woman say what sounds to me like Pat is in the hallway, and pay attention to the kind of sing-song voice that she uses when she says it.
All
So
right.
this is me telling the old man, the grumpy old man, that I'm coming to visit with him. And instead of hearing him, we hear a woman.
Here we go.
Hey, mister, are you back here? It's Patrick. I've come to visit with you.
Wow, that is really clear.
Sounds almost like a live person, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I
The
was
thing-
I almost
the thing-
I almost didn't really listen to it because I thought it was just somebody else with you,
Right.
you know.
But now, I'm not sure if she's actually saying Pat is in the hallway, my first name being Patrick.
I hear it saying
Or-
back in the hallway.
That
But-
was the other thing I think she might be saying.
Oh,
But,
Lisa's saying she heard the woman say, "Get it in the hallway."
okay.
And that spirit is telling her that the female spirit was the gatekeeper, like protection. So she was like the protector of the house.
Okay. Does she sound like a young woman or an older woman to you?
While we wait for her to respond, see Lady Liz says she heard them say, "Stay in the hallway." Everyone's like mind blown right now. Chat is just blowing up. Everyone's like, "Whoa, that was awesome."
Keep in mind that that is not a typical EVP
Yeah.
from this place. I've been investigating here at this place since about 2011, 2012. And you're getting 10% of the highlights. Most of the things that I record there are whispers and murmurs, the kinds of things you would expect.
I'm gonna
But
play
these
that
were-
one more time.
Okay.
And while I do, keep in mind Lisa is saying Spirit's telling her that this woman is an older woman.
Hey, mister, are you back here? It's Patrick. I've come to visit with you.
And that knocking sound, were you moving during the time?
Yes, ma'am. I was walking down the hallway.
Okay, so those were your footsteps under her speaking. So for that EVP to be that clear over you shuffling around and whatnot is just, that's impressive.
About the time she stops talking is when I put my hand on the doorknob to open the room that he haunts.
Okay, Lisa's saying Spirit's telling her that the woman was there before Grumpy Man, and she was his caretaker, and so she's telling people to stay in the hallway in order to protect Grumpy Man.
Fair enough. I can buy that.
And that she may have possibly been his wife at one time.
Does she have a name?
Lisa, do you think you can get the name of that woman? I'll play it one more time while you ask.
Hey, mister, are you back here? It's Patrick. I've come to visit with you.
And she almost sounds like she might be sick herself, the way that voice is to me. But Lisa's saying Spirit told her the woman's name is Gloria.
Okay.
So, I guess if you ever get around to digging up those records and find out what her name is.
Right. Well, the ghosts have mentioned many names on our investigations there. I cannot say that I've heard of Gloria before. That doesn't mean anything. Her name could very well be Gloria.
And Lisa's saying that the old woman was also ill, that she suffered from Alzheimer's herself, and that she died in the house. So the next EVP is called Sitting on the Fence.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you've been listening to me brag about my scientific approach and how I don't like to take a position on things like people's psychic abilities. Whether or not somebody is really a psychic or not, I don't take a position. And about other things, I try to stay open-minded. The degree to which a ghost needs to be shown the way to the light, or whether or not they're perfectly happy where they are. I don't take a position. I let the dead tell me. And so I'm having a conversation with a male in a room by ourselves about this. And a female ghost, because of my refusal to take a position, she accuses me of sitting on the fence. Oh, sorry.
All right. So here it is.
You're open-minded, right? You don't have strong opinions one way or the other.
Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence.
Wow. That was even clearer than the last one.
That is a Virginia twang right there.
It is. She did sound southern.
From Virginia. She is from Virginia.
Wow. I mean,
She's a local girl.
so where were you? Say it
I was in
again.
the master bedroom.
Of the
upstairs.
same house.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Makes you want to investigate the house, doesn't it?
It makes me want to move there. So it's been way too long since I've lived in a haunted house. See, Lisa says she just got the mental image of Cecily Tyson as far as what this woman may have looked like. I'm not familiar with who she... Oh, she's an actress. Okay.
Cicely Tyson.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think she's an American actress.
Yes. Yes. Lisa also mentioned that as well. So here it is one more time. Everyone in chat is like so excited right now, Patrick.
I'm glad.
You're open-minded, right? You don't have strong opinions one way or the other.
Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence. Sit on the fence.
Yeah. Just wow, right?
Well, think about what we learned from that. They're not even from some of these EVPs, they're not even like waiting for us to ask them a question. They're standing around watching us talk.
They're
And
part
then
of your conversation. Like, that's not even what we would call like a residual haunting. You know, that's live. That's almost like, can you even consider her to be dead? I mean, she's very real and interacting with you, right?
yeah, but that was the only time I heard that voice on that recording. But the thing that I take away from it, one of the things that I've learned is that the first time I investigate a place and I bring my recorder, I walk into every room and I announce myself. I tell them what I'm doing and how my tools work. And if you say something, I'll be able to hear it later.
Right.
I don't get great results on the first try. But when I come back and do a follow-up investigation and I quote them back to themselves, anything that they did say, then they're like, remember my experience when I listened to that first Battlefield recording and heard them? How it was like, oh my God, all this is real?
Right.
I think they have some experience because they now know that the tools really work. And after that, sometimes it's not easy to get them to shut up.
That's a really cool approach, yeah. So often, especially on these ghost shows and all, which I have my own opinions on, which I'll say for another episode, but you see people just diving right into it. You know, they're just like, oh, hey, who's here? And they don't give the place a chance to warm up, you know, so...
We need to remember that the dead are still real people. They may not have flesh and blood anymore, but they're still real people, and they appreciate nice manners and social decorum and respect.
That is exactly what Lisa just said. She, just a few minutes before you made that statement, she says, just because they don't have bodies doesn't mean they are not there.
Right.
So, and she's saying this woman was just like that in real life, too. She was just very matter of fact. So the next clip we're going to play is called They All Still Have You.
Oh, it's supposed to be They All Still Have Your Money.
Your money. Yep. It was cut off in my window there. Yes.
All right, so we're in the attic of the same building. And the EMF meters are all going off at the same time. And even my EMF app, the Gauss meter, is showing crazy high fields. The kind of fields that are like 10 and 15 times higher than the Earth's normal field. And that's unusual.
Yeah.
The fact that we don't get those kinds of fields in the attic all the time tells us that something is about to happen. Now remember, this is a plantation. Excuse me. It's a plantation, and there were slaves. And if you listen to the accent and the timbre of this man's voice, he sounds like an old black man to me.
Okay.
Is it a slave or not? I don't know, but he doesn't fit the profile of any of the people that were with me that night.
Okay. So this is...
Unless you feel like you don't want it.
I heard that. It sounds like, to me now I hear they say they also have your money. Or
They
they
also-
all stole your money.
Okay.
But
What I heard was they all still have your money.
it is that type of a voice. Definitely he sounds like Southern with that kind of accent. I'm going to play it one more time.
Unless you feel like you don't want it.
Yeah, that's another very clear one. The quality of these is amazing.
It's all on them, not me. I don't use any special equipment. The recorders that I'm using are just like I bought them at Target.
It's just the location. Maybe it just has, that kind of energy to it.
And they're making the effort.
Yeah, right. It's on them, right? So Lisa is saying the impression that she's getting is that, yeah, he was in quotes, this is coming directly from Spirit, in quotes, they're calling this man a straw-picking man.
Okay. So like a field hand.
Say that again?
A field hand.
Yes, pretty much. But saying that he also may not have he probably was not a slave.
Oh, I see. Okay, so maybe a sharecropper or something.
Right, right, right. Her impression is that he was a conjure man, meaning he practiced magic, healing, and he was good with money.
Okay.
So,
I might have something, if you will pardon me for 20 seconds, I might have something to show you in my hand. Can you
sure,
pardon me?
go right ahead. Yeah, sharecropper is definitely what he was. Yeah, these are amazing EVPs. Next thing coming up, I know I'm running over my hour again, but whatever. The show is just probably going to run at random lengths. The next thing I have coming up once he comes back is going to be a video with an EVP in it. So,
Okay.
all right.
Now, the thing that I have in my hand, Lisa said something about him being a conjure man.
Yes, and now while you were gone, she also mentioned that he was also a sharecropper, and he had the LOA, I'm not sure. With him, he did jinx and quote on people for money.
Okay. Sometimes when those types of characters, the voodoo and the witch doctor type, were in places, were in manors and so forth, they would make good luck charms and they would hide them. Sometimes it would just be a corn of cob or some chicken bones hidden under the floorboards.
Mm-hmm.
So while we were up there, the last time I was there, one of the floorboards was loose. And we pried it up. And there was lots of little things under there. There were pieces of menus from when the place was a hotel and a restaurant. There were pieces of Christmas decorations, pens, and even a coin.
Mm-hmm.
But there were also a bunch of these. Can you see what that is?
Is that a corn cob? It's very small to be a corn cob, but it looks like a small one.
That is a corn cob.
Okay.
And there were a bunch of them under the floorboards.
Were you able to
No.
trace it to representing any kind of charm, or?
There was nothing else under there that indicated that there was any kind of magic associated with it. But the fact is, it's too big to fall between the cracks. Somebody hid it there on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
With about 20 others.
Could it have been
Maybe.
full ears of corn at the time?
I don't know. I've even speculated that maybe an animal brought them in.
Right.
But it is a corn cob, and it has to be the last time that those floorboards were pried up was about 1940 when there was a
Wow.
fire, and somebody had to do some repairs.
That's amazing that you found that. How many? So there was just like a ton of them under there.
I wouldn't say a ton. There was between 15 and 25, I would say.
Wow. So Lisa is saying that this man helped the slaves win over their masters, and that he made them good luck charms and used things such as rattlesnake bones.
I didn't find any kind of animal bones under the floorboards.
Now she does practice like voodoo and hoodoo, and she's saying that corn cobs were used for fertility spells and also to bring the rain.
I can believe all of that.
Now, did you find any keys? She's asking.
I found nothing like a key.
Okay,
The
well,
physical object, the other physical objects that we recovered from under the floorboard in the attic were things, normal things that you would associate with the operation of any house or a hotel. There was little bits and pieces of things like children's toys.
oh yeah.
And like I said, Christmas ornaments. There was a lot of tinsel. And
That stuff gets
what-
everywhere.
Well, people store where they store their Christmas trees
Right.
and their decorations. They put them in the attic.
Yeah.
So we found mostly things that we would expect. I did find when the place in the 1940s was operating as a hotel, it was owned by Mr. Thomas J. Martin, and it was called Martin's Manor. And you can Google it and find pictures of the place back in its heyday. Google Martin's Manor, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and you'll see pictures of the place when it was kept up. And what we did find that I still have is not a bill but an invoice where he has written out how much he's paid this worker for this kind of work and this worker for that kind of work. This is from the 1940s. The guy's doing repairs on the roof and things like that. And it's somehow fallen between the cracks and was waiting for us to find it.
That's amazing. You've got really a interesting piece of history there with that corn cob. Like, my mind is just going all over the place with what that could mean, because it has to mean something. For it to be in the attic, like, I don't really know what would lead an animal to take even an ear of corn all the way up that high. Usually it would be like in a crawl space under a house or somewhere where it made sense for them to steal it off the crops and then go hide somewhere to eat it. Unless it was mice or something, but I don't know.
If it was an animal, I would have expected, if I was going to find that many corn cobs associated with an animal, he probably stole it from the trash can. And I would find other evidence of some kind of a nest up there. But there was nothing. There wasn't like tufts of fur or bones or anything else under that floorboard.
That's really fascinating. Lisa's saying the corn represents protection, and that's why it was placed there on purpose. And she also says that the spirit, he was a bit of a trickster, but he was good-hearted.
Okay, that is actually very much in alignment with what we have learned about one of the house servants who has identified himself and who the other ghosts have identified by the name Tuck.
Say that. Did you say Tom?
Tuck.
Tuck. Okay.
Yeah. We think that he was a house servant, not a field hand. That he may have been born a field hand, but he got recruited, and the place where he slept was probably the attic, and his position during the daytime would have been somewhere in the main hall, in the foyer, where he was close enough to hear anybody who was calling him, and he would have been one of the guys that like cleaned up messes and brought people things, and although the conditions for any slave were abysmal, he would have been the one who answered the door and wore nice clothes. But he is a bit mischievous. One of my partner in most of these investigations, especially the tours, because she operated a antique store out of this building, was named Cheryl. And on investigations, she will ask, Tuck, where are you? And he will say, standing behind you. And there's a certain mischievous spirit to the guy.
Right. Not menacing, but he's just like, you can tell it's lighthearted.
And when we hear things fall upstairs and we say, who did that? The female ghosts will accuse him of doing it. Tuck did it. And those kinds of things. It was Tuck.
Wow. That's a high level of interaction.
Lisa telling us that this guy might have been a little mischievous or a trickster, that adds up.
So Tuck probably put those corn cobs there.
He may have been the one who did.
Maybe he stole maybe he just was just hiding them there, waiting for someone to go looking for their corn.
Possibly.
So
he hid it for us to find.
Yeah, he did. That's awesome. Yeah, Rachel's saying she doesn't believe that it could have been an animal because the cobs would have been chewed up more. It wouldn't have been so clean looking. Which makes sense, right? Because an animal would use that to chew on.
I can almost see this as having been cleaned by a knife.
Oh, right.
Because the rows, I don't know how well you can see it, but the rows are perfectly clean. There's no kernels left on it. There's no chew marks that I can see.
Yeah.
It might be a little immature.
Lisa's saying it may have been Indian corn because it was precious to the slave population.
I have a completely different story in another EVP I can send you all about that.
So does that kind of back up what she just said then?
I think so. But I don't think it was precious to them. I think it was something that they were required to eat. The Indian corn that you're talking about is called flint corn back in the day. And it's the same kind of corn that we use to decorate the centerpiece of our tables at Thanksgiving. Now you look at that corn and you felt it, you know what it's like. It's hard. It's hard as nails. And that's why it's called flint corn. And it was grown principally to feed two kinds of livestock. One was the pigs, and the other was the slaves.
That's, yeah.
So there is an EVP that we captured where we hear an older African American sounding woman addressing someone else, not us. And what she says is, I won't ask them to grow flints. And the first time I heard it, I had no idea what she was talking about. I thought she was making a joke about how stony the field was. And it wasn't until I must have Googled every possible permutation of search terms for about a week until I discovered that flint corn was a thing that was grown for pigs and slaves back in the day. The white people would not have eaten it. And somebody has told her for something like this, I want you to go over there and in that field over there, I want you to plant flint corn for the slaves to eat. And she says, I won't ask them to grow flints. And so we caught this. So we may actually have an actual like higher ranking slave who was supervising other slaves responding to something that the master of the house or the, what was it called, overseer had told her to do and refusing to do it. And I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kind of a rebel there being like, no, we're not going to do that.
She's got some spirit, and he's still trying to boss her, and she's still refusing.
Yeah. Lisa's also saying, going back to the voodoo practices and whatnot, the kernels were cut off and used for manifesting money. They would put them into mojo bags in their castings and stuff. So she also says the slaves wanted to eat the same as their masters. They didn't want to eat what the pigs ate. Yeah, exactly, because they're not animals. They're not livestock. You know. So
we're all God's children.
Say that one more time.
I said we are all God's children, and they knew it, even if the people that pretended to own them didn't know it.
Right. Exactly. The next clip is a clip. This is the video. It says, they help me in my house.
No, the help me. Okay, setting this up. Because her father is a ghost hunter, my little girl, who is going to turn 7 in a few weeks, is familiar with the idea. And she's not a bad ghost hunter in her own right. She's not afraid of ghosts. She's afraid of the dark, and she's afraid of bugs. But she's not afraid of ghosts. And so we're having a lively conversation about the ghosts that do haunt my house. I have about 3 regular ghosts that haunt my house. And she's talking about how hard it is for them to turn lights on and off, because in front of both of us, the lamp that you see her sort of waltzing around has been turning itself on and off with an audible click. And she's saying something to the effect of, it's hard for them to make it work, they can't make it work, or something like that. And I apologize for the appearance of my house. I just pulled up the carpet and was about to have wood floors installed, so there's boxes and it looks dirty. But after she says the thing about can't make it work, listen for a female voice, just say, help me.
Okay, and here we go.
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
Okay, so I'm going to play that one more time.
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
So to me, it sounds like she's the female voice is like talking right under your daughter's voice there.
I hear it after Tara pauses.
You hear it after she pauses? Let's hear it one more time.
And then before I respond.
Let's hear it one more time.
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
And there's a light switch, but it can't work.
Really?
ℕ𝕒𝕥𝕣𝕡𝕡𝕜, but I can't work down there.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost it's so short. It's like almost like right when she's like the both of you are talking almost. But there is definitely something there. Are you still there, Patrick?
I
Oh, there
am
you are. So, in chat, let's see, some people are saying, yeah, now they hear it once I played it over again. Lisa's saying she heard a voice say, "Precious little one, she loves us. She is our 𝕬𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤." They mean she is a natural medium and well loved by the dead. And then she heard another time in there a voice say, "Yeah, you may," a female motherly spirit.
But nobody else heard help me?
Did anyone hear it say "help me"? I couldn't actually make out what it was saying, any words, but there was like something almost right like over both of your voices. Lisa saying 𝕬𝕤𝕤𝕤 means little ghost on earth. Yeah, nobody's oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, there's 3 people in chat who are saying they did hear it say "help me." Yes. I couldn't make that out, but so they want me to play it again. So let me play it one more time. Go ahead, Patrick, though I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say that the help me that I hear occurs in the pause between when Kara stops talking and I say something back to her. It's very fast, but it's definitely, what I hear is definitely a female, and I do not recognize the voice. It's not my mom or my grandmother or my great aunt.
And those are the 3 ghosts that you know of that haunt your house?
Those are the 3 females who I know have passed away here.
That have passed away. All right, here's the video one more time.
ℕ𝕒𝕥𝕣𝕡𝕡𝕜, but I can't work down there.
Really?
ℕ𝕒𝕒𝕣𝕡𝕡𝕜, but I can't work down there.
Really?
ℕ𝕒𝕒𝕣𝕡𝕡𝕜, but I can't work down there.
Really?
Oh, now I heard it. Okay, now that I know where to listen. Right. Yep, I could hear it. I did hear "help me."
Now, the lady ghost may be saying other things. It's not uncommon for them to overlap, or me to overlap them when they're speaking, because obviously I can't hear them. If I could hear them, I could shut up.
Right.
But I can't hear them with my own ears 95% of the time. If I hear anything, I'll hear a murmur, and that's only when I'm not talking. They may be standing around talking right now, and I wouldn't know it.
Right.
But yeah, the help me that I hear is like, it's a female voice. It kind of ascends. It's got that same sing-song quality to it that I've come to associate with the female ghost. The men, they don't really talk in a sing-song voice. The women don't always talk in a sing-song voice. But somehow, for some reason, at least some of the time, the females do. And I'm trying to figure out what is the significance of that.
Yeah, I get that when I do my investigations, like the very first EVP that I ever got, it's a female voice and it's very sing-songy, and she's just saying, "Some people coming," like you almost can't make out the words because it's almost just a melody rather than actual speak.
Right.
But the men, when I've gotten EVPs of male voices, they're usually very stern and very like, "Yup, I'm here and I'm talking," you know. But I also will get like a lot of children or just like random noises, like just from like activity in the house, you know. And I could be sitting perfectly still, but I'll record like, you know, a live house, people walking around and things.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not unusual. I mean, there's all kinds of things today. Some of them are still going through their daily routines 200 years after they crossed over.
Exactly. Some of them are still baking their bread and doing what they are used to doing. Lisa says the woman was not in any distress. She was just communicating with Kara, asking her to help her. And that this woman is someone who loves Kara. And Rachel says it sounds like a mom telling a kid to help her clean something up. And
Gotcha.
she still hears the phrase, "Yeah, you can." So, very, very interesting stuff, Patrick. We're going to sadly have to let you go now. Are there any final thoughts or comments that you didn't get to bring up that you'd like to bring up before we say goodnight?
No, not unless somebody has a specific question.
All right. Yeah, if there are any questions in chat, go ahead and throw them out. Lisa's also saying that this is a woman that Kara has dreamed of.
Well, it could be my mother.
If she
Well,
has,
yeah.
Has she ever talked about seeing anyone in her dreams?
No, not specifically, but we do know that my mother has spoken to her on at least one or two occasions here. Last time was on her birthday, about a year ago.
Fascinating.
We were in the front yard, and we had the recorder going because it was my daughter's birthday. And she said, "Daddy, don't forget to ask if Grandma is here."
Aw.
And so I stopped pushing her on the swing, and I said, "Is there anyone here with us who we cannot see?" And there was one word, and it was Grandma.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Mm.
Let's see. Lisa is saying, Spirit actually has a question for you, and they want to know, why do you love us so much?
I have enormous compassion for the dead. I don't know what it's like to be dead. If I've ever been dead before and reincarnated, I don't remember being dead. But I try to put myself in their shoes. Look at how hard it is for them to make a noise that even we notice, because we've got TVs on and fans blowing and the air conditioning going, all these things going all the time. The neighbor is mowing the lawn. Maybe once in a while, the ghost can move something or make a noise loud enough for us to notice and look and say, "Oh, I wonder what that was."
Mm-hmm.
If you're dead, and you're surrounded by the people that you love, and you cannot communicate with them because you're not loud enough and you're not sensitive enough, what a lonely thing that must be.
Right.
I have enormous compassion for these people. They're real people. And anything I can do to take the edge off, to make them feel more welcome in my house, in my life, to interact with me the way that they would like to, as person to person, I would love nothing better than to sit down on the opposite side of a table and share a cup of tea with a ghost. You know,
Or
have a
coffee,
conversation.
right?
Right, in my fabulous coffee with the dead.
Available in the Teespring store, wink wink.
That's correct.
Well, Patrick, it was an absolute pleasure having you on tonight. We could just keep going. We could just talk about so much. So perhaps
Thank you.
I can have you on again another couple times, as you have all your fascinating information to share with us. Everyone in chat just loved you. They're complimenting you. They're just saying, how great you were on the show, and what a great episode this turned out to be.
Well, let me say that I'm supremely flattered by your compliments, everyone's compliments. I enjoyed listening to your comments, and thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for enduring all of this talk with me.
I don't think there was much to endure here. Everyone was very, very entertained and just enthralled with the great EVPs and you explaining your thoughts and your approach to the world of this paranormal. So it was quite lovely. So we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much again. Yes.
Have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
Good night.
Well, that was the very fascinating Patrick Bishop from the Spook Group out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. And wow, right? Just wow. The quality of those EVPs was just incredible. And it was also like pretty cool that he was, like drinking out of, my mug and stuff. I really liked it. So, again, we are looking for interviews. If you know somebody who is, a hobbyist or a professional in the spooky, it doesn't necessarily have to be ghosts, just anything strange and unusual, oddities, whatever, who would like to be on the show, I'd be more than happy to talk to them and, kind of see if they would be a good fit or not. So please send them my way. They can message me on Facebook. It is 𝕬𝕤𝕤𝕤, and they can email me paraann@cwtd.co. Also, next week on the 19th, we will be interviewing Daniel Belasco from Glass Apple Bonsai, which is a Canadian electro synth band, and they're super fun to see live. I cannot wait for concerts again. 2020 is just like, I'm so over it. Wear your freaking masks so we can get back to normal. New normal is not okay. We need normal. I just need concerts, really. And I don't want to go to a concert wearing a mask because I might just pass out. It'd be so hot. But I'll do it. As soon as there's concerts again, man, I'm out there. So, that's next week. We have Daniel Belasco. He'll be talking about some of his ghost encounters up there in Canada, and also promoting his 2 new releases, Skeleton Dance and another one that he'll be talking all about, and we'll share some great audio clips from that and all the things. So thank you again so much for listening. Remember, check out the Patreon site. If you'd like to sign up to be a Patreon, that'd be like fantastic. And like I said, you can just do it once for 1 month, never again, or whenever you have the spare couple of bucks to toss over, you can just sign up and then you can cancel, and then, it's no obligation for it to be recurring for you. But just to see you over there, get some support, and you get the awesome benefits that I will dish out to the different tiers, such as for Shadow tier right now, you get a walkabout virtual tour of Point Lookout, and have a chance to scan that video for any EVPs or otherwise ghostly images. Stay with me after the show. I'll be doing a Facebook Live post-show kind of recap thing. Thanks again. I can't say it enough how much you guys really just motivate me to keep going. So, that's it for now. Until next week, remember, the veil is thin.